The icy North Sea spray stings my face like 1,000 needles as I clutch my 3-month-old son against my chest, his cries barely audible over the howling wind. Lightning splits the black sky, illuminating the pack boat 50 yards away where my former mate Damien stands with his arm wrapped around Seraphina's perfect waist, both of them laughing like they're at some twisted celebration instead of watching me die. Please. I scream over the storm, treading water desperately as another wave crashes over us. At least take the baby. He's innocent. Damien's voice carries across the churning water, cold as the sea itself. That thing probably isn't even mine, Arya. You were always too easy. The pack members on the boat laugh, and my heart shatters into a million pieces. 3 years. 3 years I loved him, served his family, endured the whispers about being wolfless. And this is how it ends, with my own mate throwing his son and me to the wolves of the sea. My arms burn as I struggle to keep little Marcus above the waves. The storm is getting worse, and I can feel my strength fading. I never shifted, never had a wolf to give me supernatural endurance. I'm just human, and humans don't survive the North Sea in October. Damien, please. I try one more time, but the boat is already turning away, its engine roaring as they head back to shore. A massive wave swells beneath us, lifting Marcus and me toward the lightning-torn sky before slamming us down. Salt water floods my mouth and nose. My baby's cries fade to weak whimpers. This is it. We're going to die out here, forgotten and discarded like yesterday's trash. But then I see them. Golden eyes, glowing beneath the dark water like twin suns. They rise from the depths with impossible grace, attached to a man who shouldn't exist. He moves through the churning sea like it's calm as glass, the storm seeming to part around him. Water streams from midnight black hair as he surfaces completely, revealing a face carved from the dreams of ancient gods, sharp cheekbones, a strong jaw, and those impossible golden eyes that seem to hold the power of eternity. He's naked from the waist up, his skin unmarked by the brutal cold, and when he speaks, his voice carries despite the wind. You're safe now. Before I can process what's happening, he's beside us, one powerful arm sliding around my waist while the other cradles Marcus with surprising gentleness. My baby stops crying instantly, as if he recognizes something in this stranger that I can't comprehend. Who are you? I gasp, but he doesn't answer. Instead, he does something impossible. The man raises his free hand, and the sea responds like a trained animal. The waves that were trying to drown us moments ago now lift us up, carrying us toward shore with supernatural smoothness. The storm continues to rage around us, but we move through a pocket of perfect calm, as if we're traveling inside a bubble of his power. I stare at his profile in shock. You're controlling the water. Those golden eyes flick to mine, and I see amusement dancing in their depths. Among other things. That's impossible. Werewolves can't. I'm not just any werewolf, little one. His voice is like whiskey and smoke, warming me despite the cold. I'm Alpha King Xander Nightshade of the Shadow Moon Pack. And you? He looks down at my son, who's now sleeping peacefully in his arms. You've been keeping my grandson from me. My world tilts sideways. Your grandson? But that would mean. That Damien Blackthorn is my son, yes. Xander's expression hardens, and suddenly the temperature drops another 10 degrees. My disowned, worthless excuse for a son who apparently inherited none of my honor. The shore is approaching rapidly, though I can't feel us moving through the water. It's like we're being carried by invisible hands. In the distance, I can see lights from Damien's pack house, warm and inviting, everything I'll never have again. Why did you save us? I whisper. No one's seen you in decades. Everyone thinks you're dead. I prefer it that way. Xander's jaw clenches. But when I felt my bloodline in danger, when I sensed this little prince crying out across the waves. He looks down at Marcus again, and his expression softens slightly. Even I have my limits. We reach the rocky shore, and Xander steps onto dry land like he weighs nothing at all. The waves follow him, gently depositing us on the beach before retreating back to their natural chaos. I stumble slightly as my feet touch solid ground, and his arm tightens around me. Easy. You've been through an ordeal. I look back toward the sea, where the storm continues to rage. How did you do that? The water, the waves. Ancient magic runs in the Nightshade bloodline. He sets Marcus carefully in my arms, and I feel the loss of his warmth immediately. Your son carries that blood. He'll be far more powerful than his father ever dreamed of being. As if summoned by our conversation, the sound of engines grows louder. Damien's pack boat is returning, probably to make sure we're really dead. My heart races with panic, but Xander just smiles, and it's not a nice expression. Perfect timing, he says, his golden eyes starting to glow brighter. I've been meaning to have a conversation with my disappointment of a son. The boat rounds the rocky outcropping, and I see Damien's face go white as he spots us on the shore. Even from this distance, I can hear Seraphina's sharp intake of breath. Impossible, Damien breathes, his voice carrying over the water. You're supposed to be dead. Xander steps forward, and the sea responds to his movement. The waves around Damien's boat begin to grow higher, more violent, trapping them in a circle of churning water. Hello, son, Xander calls out, his voice somehow carrying perfectly despite the storm. We need to talk. I clutch Marcus tighter as father faces son across the dark water, power crackling in the air between them. The legendary Alpha King has returned, and something tells me the Shadow Moon Pack is about to discover just how far the apple fell from this particular tree. The storm intensifies, and Xander's golden eyes begin to burn like twin stars in the darkness. Chapter 2. I wake to the sound of crystal chimes singing in an unfamiliar breeze. My eyes flutter open, expecting to see the rough stone walls of some cave or makeshift shelter. Instead, I'm staring up at a ceiling that defies belief. Carved from what appears to be living moonstone, it pulses with soft silver light that shifts and flows like captured starlight. Delicate crystal formations spiral down like frozen waterfalls, each one humming with a musical note so pure it makes my heart ache. You're awake. Xander's voice draws my attention, and I turn to find him sitting in an ornate chair beside what can only be described as the most beautiful bed I've ever seen. The frame appears to be carved from a single piece of black pearl, and the bedding feels like silk woven from moonbeams. I bolt upright, panic flooding my system. Marcus. Where's my baby? Safe. Xander's golden eyes hold mine steadily. He's being tended to by my most trusted servants. Would you like to see him? Before I can answer, the massive doors to the chamber swing open silently, and a woman enters carrying my son. But she's not entirely human. Her ears are slightly pointed, her movements too graceful, and her eyes hold an otherworldly shimmer. She approaches the bed with reverent steps, as if she's carrying something sacred. My prince sleeps peacefully, Your Highness, she says to Xander, but her eyes never leave Marcus. The other servants are, quite taken with him. As she hands Marcus to me, I notice something strange. The woman's hands are trembling, not with fear, but with what looks like awe. What's wrong with her? Nothing's wrong, Xander says quietly. She's simply in the presence of something she never thought she'd live to see. I look down at my sleeping son, so ordinary in my eyes, just a beautiful baby with his father's dark hair and my pale skin. I don't understand. Xander stands and moves to the enormous windows that line one wall of the chamber. When he gestures for me to join him, I do, still cradling Marcus. What I see beyond the crystal glass makes my breath catch. We're not on Earth anymore. At least, not the Earth I know. Spread out below us is a city that belongs in fairy tales, buildings carved from precious stones that glow with their own inner light, bridges that span impossible distances without any visible support, and gardens where the trees themselves seem to be made of silver and gold. Creatures I can only describe as wolves, but wolves the size of horses with coats that shimmer like liquid starlight, roam freely through the streets alongside beings that are definitely not human. Welcome to the Shadow Realm, Xander says softly. My true kingdom. This is impossible, I whisper, but even as I say it, I know I'm looking at absolute reality. How are we here? The same way I controlled the ocean. He turns to face me, and in the crystalline light, his features are even more devastatingly beautiful than they appeared in the storm. Magic, little one. Ancient magic that most werewolves have forgotten exists. A soft chime echoes through the chamber, and Xander's expression shifts to something I can't quite read. They're here. Who's here? Instead of answering, he moves to the doors and opens them wide. What comes through makes my jaw drop. Dozens of wolves file into the room, but these aren't ordinary pack wolves. They're magnificent creatures with coats that span every color I've ever imagined and several I haven't. Some have eyes like emeralds, others like sapphires, and a few have eyes that swirl with multiple colors like living rainbows. They move with liquid grace, filling the chamber until I'm surrounded by a sea of beautiful, otherworldly beasts. And then, one by one, they do something that defies everything I know about werewolf behavior. They bow to my baby. Not to Xander, their alpha king. To Marcus. My 3-month-old son, who can barely hold his head up, is receiving the reverence of what appears to be the most powerful supernatural beings I've ever seen. The largest wolf, a magnificent creature with a coat like spun silver and eyes like liquid gold, approaches cautiously and lowers its massive head until its nose nearly touches Marcus's tiny hand. What's happening? I breathe. Xander moves to stand beside me, and then he does something that stops my heart completely. The Alpha King of the Shadow Moon Pack, ruler of this impossible realm, slowly drops to one knee before my child. The prophecy is true, he whispers, his voice filled with wonder and something that might be tears. The Moonless One has arrived. The wolves around us begin to make a sound I've never heard before, not howling, exactly, but a harmonic song that seems to resonate in my very bones. The Crystal Palace responds, its walls glowing brighter, the chimes singing louder, until the entire chamber feels alive with celebration. I don't understand any of this, I say, though part of me, a part I've always ignored, whispers that maybe I understand more than I want to admit. Xander rises and gently touches Marcus's tiny hand. For centuries, there's been a prophecy among the old bloodlines. It spoke of a child born without a wolf, born to one who was also wolfless, who would revolutionize everything we thought we knew about our kind. The Moonless Alpha, they called him. A being who would possess power beyond imagination precisely because he wasn't bound by traditional wolf magic. But I'm not special, I protest. I'm just human who happened to get pregnant by a werewolf. I'm nobody. Are you? His golden eyes hold mine. Tell me, Arya, have you ever noticed that pack magic doesn't work on you quite the way it should? That alpha commands feel like suggestions? That you can sense things others can't? My breath catches. He's right. I'd always attributed it to being an outsider, but now that he mentions it. How did you know? Because you're not wolfless, little one. You never were. He steps closer, and I catch his scent, pine forests and ocean storms and something wilder, more ancient. You're something far rarer. You're descended from the moon goddess herself. The words hit me like a physical blow. That's impossible. Is it? Your immunity to werewolf magic, your ability to bear a child destined for greatness, the way even my wolves recognize your bloodline. He gestures to the magnificent beasts still surrounding us. Everything about you screams divine heritage, if one knows how to look. Before I can process this revelation fully, the doors burst open again, and this time the energy that enters is anything but welcoming. The woman who strides in is breathtaking in the way of sharp knives and winter storms. Her hair is platinum blonde, almost white, and her eyes are the pale blue of Arctic ice. She's dressed in a gown that seems to be made of shadows and starlight, and every line of her body screams aristocracy and power. So, she says, her voice like poisoned honey, this is the little human who's turned my kingdom upside down. The wolves around us tense, some even growling low in their throats, but the woman ignores them completely. Her cold gaze fixes on me with obvious disdain. Lady Celeste, Xander's voice carries a warning. You will show respect. Respect? She laughs, and the sound makes the crystal walls shiver. For this, creature? Xander, darling, surely you can't be serious about the prophecy nonsense. This girl is nothing more than a discarded breeding vessel. Heat floods through me at her words, not embarrassment, but something far more dangerous. Excuse me? Oh, it speaks. Celeste's smile is razor sharp. How delightful. Tell me, little human, do you truly believe you belong in a palace? Among beings of power and nobility? Celeste. Xander's voice drops to a growl that makes even the largest wolf step back. Enough. But she's not finished. She glides closer, her movements predatory, and I can feel power radiating from her like heat from a flame. I was meant to be queen of this realm, you know. Xander and I were betrothed for decades before his unfortunate disappearance. I've waited, kept his throne warm, maintained order in his absence. And now he returns with some wolfless nobody and her bastard child, claiming they fulfill ancient prophecies? The insult to Marcus breaks something inside me. My son may be many things, but he is not a bastard, and I won't stand here and let anyone, goddess descendant or not, speak about him that way. Watch your mouth, I say, my voice low and steady. Celeste's eyebrows rise in amusement. Or what? You'll cry at me? Beg for mercy like you did with your pathetic ex-mate? That's when the rage hits, and with it, something else. Something that's been sleeping inside me my entire life suddenly wakes up, stretching and roaring and demanding to be acknowledged. Power. Raw, ancient, unstoppable power that floods through my veins like liquid fire. I repeat, and this time my voice carries harmonics that make the crystal walls ring like bells. Watch your mouth. Celeste's smug expression falters as the air around us begins to shimmer with silver light. The wolves back away, whimpering not in fear, but in recognition. Even Xander's eyes widen with something that looks like awe. Impossible, Celeste breathes. You're just a human. Am I? The power is intoxicating, singing through me like the most beautiful music I've ever heard. It feels like coming home after a lifetime of being lost. You know what, Celeste? You're right about one thing. I don't belong in a palace. Her smile returns, triumphant. Finally, some son. I belong on a throne. The words leave my mouth without conscious thought, but the moment they're spoken, I know they're true. The power inside me recognizes its birthright, and apparently, so does everything else in the room. Celeste's face goes white. You can't be serious. Try me. I take a step forward, still holding Marcus, and the silver light around me intensifies. You want to know what I am? I'm the mother of the moonless alpha. I'm the vessel of ancient powers you can't even comprehend. And right now, I'm really not in the mood for your attitude. What happens next surprises everyone, including me. I don't touch Celeste. I don't even gesture toward her. I simply think about how much I'd like her to be somewhere else, preferably somewhere that involves her landing on her perfectly dressed behind. The power responds to my wish like a faithful servant. Celeste shoots backward across the room as if she's been hit by an invisible freight train. She slams into the far wall with enough force to crack the crystal, then slides down to land in an undignified heap on the floor, her elaborate gown torn and her perfect hair disheveled. The silence that follows is deafening. Every wolf in the room turns to stare at me with expressions that range from awe to terror. Even Xander looks stunned, though there's something else in his golden eyes, something that might be pride. Well, he says finally, his voice carefully neutral. That was illuminating. Marcus chooses that moment to wake up and let out a small, contented sigh, as if magical displays of power are perfectly normal occurrences in his young life. Maybe, considering his parentage, they are. Celeste struggles to her feet, her ice blue eyes blazing with fury and something else, fear. This isn't over, she snarls, but she's backing toward the doors as she says it. Yes, I say, still glowing with silver light, it is. She flees, and the wolves part to let her pass. When the doors slam shut behind her, the tension in the room doesn't dissipate, it transforms into something else entirely. Anticipation. So, Xander says conversationally, shall we discuss your coronation, or would you prefer to explore the extent of your powers first? I look down at my baby, then up at the man who claims to be his grandfather, then around at the room full of magical wolves who are still staring at me like I've just performed a miracle. Actually, I say, I think I'd like some answers. Starting with exactly what being descended from the moon goddess means for me and my son. Xander's smile is brilliant. Now that, my dear, is going to be a very long conversation. The Crystal Palace hums around us, welcoming its new mistress home. Chapter 3. The Luna trials begin at dawn, and I've never been more terrified in my life. You don't have to do this, Xander says for the 10th time as we stand before the massive obsidian doors that lead to the sacred chambers. His golden eyes hold concern, but underneath that, I can see something else, anticipation. The trials are meant for wolves who've trained their entire lives. You've had your powers for exactly 3 days. 3 days. That's how long it's been since I sent Lady Celeste flying across the crystal chamber, and every moment since has been filled with revelations that have turned my world upside down. I've learned that my silver light can heal wounds, that I can communicate telepathically with Xander's wolves, and that when I'm angry enough, I can make the very foundations of the palace tremble. But I still don't know the full extent of what I am, and according to the ancient laws, there's only one way to find out. The trials will awaken whatever powers sleep in your bloodline, Xander had explained yesterday as we walked through his impossible gardens. But they're also dangerous. The last candidate who attempted them without proper preparation died. How long ago was that? I'd asked. 1,500 years. I adjust Marcus in my arms, grateful that he's sleeping peacefully despite the tension radiating from every adult in the vicinity. Over the past 3 days, I've noticed something extraordinary about my son. Whenever danger approaches, a soft silver glow emanates from his skin, so faint that only I seem to notice it. Right now, he's completely normal, which I choose to take as a good sign. The trials are the only way to unlock my full heritage, I tell Xander firmly. And after what Celeste told me yesterday about the increasing rogue attacks on the outer territories, I need every advantage I can get. Celeste. Even thinking her name makes my newly awakened powers stir restlessly beneath my skin. Since our confrontation, she's made herself scarce, but her supporters in the palace have been less subtle. Yesterday, I overheard 2 of her ladies-in-waiting discussing how convenient it would be if I died during the trials. The silver light had started crackling around my fingers before I caught myself. The massive doors begin to open with a sound like grinding mountains, revealing a chamber that takes my breath away. It's carved from a single piece of what looks like black diamond, and the walls are covered in symbols that seem to move and shift when I'm not looking directly at them. At the center of the room sits a pool of liquid that reflects no light at all. It's like staring into a piece of the void itself. The pool of truth, Xander says quietly. It will show you everything about your bloodline, but only if you're strong enough to survive the revelations. I step forward, and immediately the symbols on the walls begin to glow with silver light that matches the power humming in my veins. The response is so strong, so immediate, that several of the wolves who've accompanied us as witnesses whimper and back away. Incredible, breathes Elder Thorn, the ancient werewolf who serves as the palace's keeper of traditions. His eyes are wide with something that looks like fear. I've never seen the chamber respond so strongly to anyone. What does that mean? I ask, though part of me already knows the answer. It means, Xander says, his voice filled with awe, that your bloodline is far more powerful than we imagined. I approach the pool slowly, Marcus still sleeping in my arms. The liquid, if it can be called liquid, seems to reach toward me like living shadow. When I'm close enough to see my reflection, I gasp. The woman looking back at me isn't the scared, uncertain girl who was cast out into the storm. Her eyes glow with inner silver light, her dark hair seems to move with its own wind, and there's something regal in her bearing that wasn't there before. This is what I was always meant to become. Place your hand in the pool, Elder Thorn instructs. But be warned, once the visions begin, you cannot stop them. You must experience every truth, no matter how painful. I take a deep breath and lower my free hand toward the dark surface. The moment my skin touches the void, the world explodes into light and memory. I'm no longer in the chamber. I'm standing in a forest clearing, watching a scene unfold like a movie projected directly into my mind. Two people stand facing a group of armed werewolves, a man with silver-touched hair and golden eyes, and a woman whose dark hair flows with the same otherworldly wind I've seen in my reflection. My parents. The knowledge hits me like a physical blow. These are my parents, and they're magnificent. The man, my father, radiates power that makes even Xander seem pale by comparison. The woman, my mother, glows with silver light so bright it's almost painful to look at. "You cannot kill us, Marcus," my father says, and his voice carries the authority of absolute command. "The moon goddess herself blessed our union. Our daughter will. Your daughter will die with you," snarls a voice I recognize with growing horror. Alpha Marcus Blackthorn, Damien's father, steps out from behind a tree. He looks younger, but the cruel twist of his mouth is exactly the same. No half-goddess brat is going to threaten the natural order. "She is the prophesied Luna," my mother cries, silver light blazing around her like a star. "She will bring balance too. She will bring chaos," Marcus interrupts. A moon goddess bloodline combined with high alpha power? She would be unstoppable. "No, Luna Seraphine, your line ends tonight." The vision shifts, showing me the battle that follows. My parents fight like forces of nature, my father commanding earth and wind, my mother wielding moonlight itself as a weapon. But they're outnumbered, and worse, they're protecting something. A baby. Me. I watch in horror as my mother uses the last of her strength to cast a protection spell over the infant version of myself, hiding me from the massacre. I see her tears as she kisses my forehead one final time before Marcus's claws find her heart. "Find the child," Marcus orders as my parents' bodies hit the ground. "Leave no stone unturned." But the protection spell works. The searchers pass right by the hollow log where baby me sleeps in magical slumber, invisible to their senses. Hours later, a human couple out for a morning hike finds me and, unable to have children of their own, takes me home. The vision fades, but the pool isn't finished with me. New images flood my mind: my adoptive parents' car accident when I was 16, not an accident, I realize now with sickening clarity, my struggles in the foster system, my desperate need to belong somewhere that led me straight into Damien's manipulative arms. All of it orchestrated by Marcus Blackthorn to keep me powerless and isolated. But then the pool shows me something else. A figure moving through shadows, hunting. Xander, I realize, but not the Xander I know. This is a younger version, consumed with grief and rage, tracking the wolves responsible for my family's murder. He finds them one by one over the years. Some die quick deaths. Others don't. But Marcus remains elusive, protected by his pack and his position, always one step ahead. Until the night Xander feels his bloodline in danger across the waves. Until he realizes that the lost daughter of High Alpha Selim and Luna Seraphine is alive, and she's about to die in the North Sea. The visions end abruptly, leaving me gasping and shaking beside the pool. But the power that's been growing inside me these past 3 days suddenly explodes outward like a supernova. Silver light blazes from every inch of my skin, so bright that everyone in the chamber has to shield their eyes. The symbols on the walls pulse in response, telling the story of my heritage in ancient script that I can somehow read perfectly now. High Alpha bloodline. Moon goddess descendant. The prophesied Luna who will reshape the werewolf world. The most powerful female werewolf ever born. By the goddess, Elder Thorn whispers, falling to his knees. She's not just a Luna. She's the Luna Prima, the first and most powerful of her kind. The light around me intensifies, and suddenly I can feel everything, every wolf in the shadow realm, every heartbeat, every thought. The power is intoxicating and terrifying all at once. But underneath it all, one emotion burns brighter than the rest. Rage. Pure, righteous fury at the man who murdered my parents, who destroyed my family, who condemned me to a life of loneliness and manipulation. The same man whose son cast me and my child into the sea to die. Arya, Xander's voice cuts through the roar of power in my ears. You need to control it. This much power unleashed at once could. Could what? I turn to face him, and I see him flinch at whatever he sees in my glowing eyes. Could make the man who murdered my parents pay for what he's done? Yes, he says quietly. But if you let rage drive your power, you'll become no better than him. He's right, and part of me knows it. But the larger part, the part that just watched my parents die, that felt my mother's heartbreak as she kissed her baby goodbye for the last time, doesn't care about being better than anyone. Marcus Blackthorne is going to pay. I close my eyes and reach out with my newfound abilities, searching for the mind that haunts my dreams. It takes only moments to find him. He's in his office in the Blackthorne pack house, probably planning some new cruelty. Perfect. The magical connection forms instantly, and suddenly I'm standing in Marcus's office, visible to him but incorporeal. He looks up from his paperwork, and his face goes white as a sheet. "Hello, Uncle Marcus," I say sweetly, using the title he would have earned if he hadn't murdered my parents. "Miss me?" The alpha of the Blackthorne pack, a man who has ruled through fear and violence for decades, scrambles backward in his chair so fast that he tips it over and crashes to the floor. The acrid smell of urine fills the air. "Impossible," he gasps. "You're dead. I killed you. I killed your whole line." "You killed my parents," I correct, letting my power blaze brighter until his office fills with silver light. "But I survived. I grew up. I had a son. And now I'm coming for you." Marcus is shaking so hard he can barely speak. What do you want?" "Justice," I say simply. "You murdered the High Alpha and his Luna. You destroyed ancient bloodlines. You condemned your own grandson to death. The power around me crackles dangerously. Did you really think there wouldn't be consequences?" "Please," he whimpers, and seeing this powerful alpha reduced to a terrified child almost satisfies the rage burning in my chest. Almost. I was protecting the packs. Your bloodline would have. Would have what? Brought peace. Ended the senseless wars between territories. Made werewolves more than just animals fighting over scraps. My laugh is not a pleasant sound. You're right to be afraid, Marcus. Because I am going to reshape this world, just like my parents planned. The only difference is, you won't be alive to see it. Arya. Xander's voice echoes strangely across the magical connection. That's enough. Come back. I ignore him, focusing on Marcus's terrified face. You have 3 days to put your affairs in order. Then I'm coming for you. Wait. Marcus struggles to his knees. What about Damien? He's your mate, your child's father. Damien chose his side when he threw his son into the sea, I say coldly. But don't worry. I'll deal with him too. I sever the connection abruptly, returning fully to my body in the trial chamber. The power is still coursing through me, but now it feels controlled, purposeful. I look around at the assembled witnesses, all of whom are staring at me with expressions ranging from awe to terror. Did you just... Xander starts. Threaten a sitting alpha via magical communication? Make him wet himself in fear? Promise justice for my murdered parents? I smile, and even I can feel that it's not entirely sane. Yes to all of the above. Elder Thorn shakily gets to his feet. The trials are complete. Luna Prima Arya, daughter of High Alpha Selim and Luna Seraphine, has awakened. He bows deeply. Long may you reign. The other witnesses echo his words, but I'm barely listening. Instead, I'm looking at Xander, seeing him with new understanding. 20 years, I say quietly. You've been hunting them for 20 years. He nods, his golden eyes reflecting pain that's older than my lifetime. Your father was my closest friend. Your mother was like a sister to me. When I felt their deaths. He shakes his head. I've been searching for justice ever since. And when you felt your bloodline in danger that night in the storm? I knew it had to be you. The lost daughter, finally revealed. His expression softened slightly. I didn't save you for revenge, Arya. I saved you because you're family. Marcus chooses that moment to wake up, letting out a soft cry that immediately draws my attention. I look down at my son, and my breath catches. He's glowing. Not the faint silver light I've noticed when danger approaches, but a brilliant radiance that matches my own. His eyes, when they flutter open, are no longer the dark brown of his father's bloodline. They're pure silver. Divine. Powerful beyond imagining. The moonless alpha awakens, Elder Thorn whispers in amazement. Mother and son, united in power at last. I hold Marcus closer, feeling the way our combined energy makes the very air hum with potential. 3 days ago, I was a discarded outcast with no future. Now I'm the most powerful Luna in werewolf history, and my son is the prophesied king who will reshape everything. So, I say to Xander, my voice steady despite the cosmic forces swirling around us. When do we start planning our war? His smile is sharp as a blade and twice as dangerous. My dear niece, we've already begun. The crystal palace trembles around us as power calls to power, and somewhere in the distance, I can feel Marcus Blackthorn's terror bleeding through the magical connection like an open wound. Good. He should be afraid. After 20 years, justice is finally coming for the Blackthorn pack. Chapter 4. The Luna ceremony is in full swing when I descend from the storm clouds like an avenging angel. I've spent 3 weeks preparing for this moment, 3 weeks learning to harness the cosmic power flowing through my veins, 3 weeks planning every detail of my return, 3 weeks watching through scrying mirrors as Damien and Seraphina prepare for their mating ceremony. Today, she officially becomes Luna of the Crescent Moon Pack, taking the title that should have been mine if Damien hadn't been such a coward. But things have changed since that night in the North Sea. I've changed. The dress I wear is woven from actual starlight, courtesy of the Shadow Realm's most talented seamstresses. It flows around me like liquid silver, every thread catching and reflecting light that exists only in my grandmother the Moon Goddess's domain. My hair streams behind me in an otherworldly wind, and my eyes burn with power that makes the very air shimmer. I am no longer Arya Winters, the discarded wolfless girl. I am Luna Prima Arya, daughter of legends, mother of the prophesied king, and I am done hiding. What the hell is that? Someone shouts from the crowd below as my silver light cuts through the evening sky. The entire pack, nearly 300 werewolves gathered in the ceremonial clearing, stops what they're doing to stare up at me. I can see Damien standing at the altar, handsome as ever in his formal alpha attire, but there's something wrong with his eyes. They're glassy, unfocused, like he's not entirely present in his own body. Beside him, Seraphina looks stunning in a traditional Luna gown of white and gold. But when she spots me descending from the heavens, her perfect mask slips for just a moment, and I catch a glimpse of something cold and calculating underneath. Impossible, she breathes, but her voice carries in the sudden silence. You're supposed to be dead. I land gracefully in the center of the ceremonial circle, my starlight dress pooling around me like liquid moonbeams. The assembled pack members scramble backward, some falling over themselves in their haste to get away from the cosmic energy radiating from my skin. Hello, Damien, I say pleasantly, as if I'm greeting an old friend instead of the man who tried to murder me and our son. Lovely evening for a ceremony, don't you think? Damien's mouth opens and closes like a fish gasping for air. Up close, I can see that his pupils are dilated, and there's a faint purple sheen to his irises that definitely wasn't there before. Arya? His voice sounds confused, distant. But you died. In the storm. I saw. You saw what you wanted to see, I interrupt, letting my power flare brighter. Several wolves whimper and bare their throats in submission. But I'm very much alive, as you can see. This is impossible, Seraphina snaps, stepping forward with surprising boldness considering she's facing a cosmic force of nature. The ceremony has already begun. You have no right to be here. I turn to face her fully, and the temperature in the clearing drops by 20 degrees. No right? This is interesting, coming from the woman who stole my mate and my place through deception. I stole nothing, Seraphina says, but I catch the slight tremor in her voice. Damien chose me. He rejected you publicly. Everyone saw it. Did he? I tilt my head, studying her with eyes that can now see through magical deceptions. What I find makes my blood boil. Or did you help him make that choice? Before she can answer, the sound of approaching vehicles fills the air. 3 separate convoys are arriving simultaneously, and I smile as I recognize the occupants. From the north, Marcus Blackthorne and his elite guard, clearly here to support his son's ceremony but also to investigate the impossible reports he's been receiving about my survival. From the east, Xander and his Shadow Moon warriors, moving like liquid death through the forest. My uncle has been planning this confrontation as carefully as I have. From the south, a group I don't recognize, but when I extend my supernatural senses, I detect something that makes my skin crawl. Humans. Armed humans with weapons specifically designed to kill werewolves. Well, I say cheerfully as the clearing fills with potential combatants, this should be interesting. Marcus Blackthorne emerges from his convoy first, and I have to admit there's a certain satisfaction in watching his face go white as a sheet when he sees me. He's older than he appeared in my magical communication 3 weeks ago, his dark hair now heavily streaked with gray, but his cruel eyes are exactly the same. You, he breathes, his hand instinctively moving to the silver dagger at his belt. But I killed your line. I made sure. You made sure of nothing, I interrupt, letting my voice carry to every corner of the clearing. You murdered my parents, Marcus Blackthorne. High Alpha Selim and Luna Seraphine of the Moonrise Pack. You butchered them like animals because you were afraid of what their daughter might become. Gasps echo through the crowd. The Moonrise Pack was legendary. Their destruction 20 years ago had been blamed on rogue attacks, but I can see the recognition dawning on faces throughout the gathering. Lies, Marcus snarls, but his voice lacks conviction. Rogue wolves killed the Moonrise Pack. Everyone knows. Everyone knows what you wanted them to know. Xander's voice cuts through the night as he steps into the clearing. His golden eyes are fixed on Marcus with lethal intent. But I've spent 20 years gathering evidence, old friend. 20 years collecting witness statements from your surviving accomplices. Did you really think you could hide the truth forever? The tension in the clearing ratchets up another notch as the 2 most powerful alphas in the territory face off. But before violence can erupt, Seraphina does something that surprises everyone. She laughs. Oh, this is rich, she says, clapping her hands together in mock applause. The lost princess returns to reclaim her throne, complete with a dramatic entrance and family revelations. How absolutely predictable. Seraphina, Damien says uncertainly, blinking as if trying to clear his vision. What are you talking about? Aria's parents died in a rogue attack. Everyone knows that. Do they? She turns to him with a smile that's all sharp edges. Tell me, darling, do you remember the night you decided to reject her? Do you remember making that choice with a clear head? Damien's confusion deepens. Of course I mean, we talked about it. You explained why she wasn't suitable for a Luna. Her wolfless condition, her common background. Yes, we talked, Seraphina agrees. Over dinner. Wine. Those special chocolates I made just for you. Her smile turns predatory. Do you remember what they tasted like, Damien? I watch in horror and fascination as understanding dawns on his face. The purple sheen in his eyes flickers, as if whatever's causing it is fighting to maintain control. Love potions, I breathe, the pieces clicking into place. You've been drugging him. For months, Seraphina confirms cheerfully. Amazing what a little magical manipulation can accomplish. Although I must say, keeping him compliant during the actual rejection was particularly challenging. He kept trying to fight through the compulsion. The clearing erupts into chaos. Damien stumbles backward, his hand pressed to his forehead as if he's in pain. No, that can't be right. I chose. I wanted. You wanted to protect her, Seraphina says coldly. Even under magical influence, you kept trying to save your precious Arya. It was quite touching, really. And extremely inconvenient. Rage unlike anything I've ever felt floods through my system. The starlight dress blazes brighter as my power responds to my fury, and several of the weaker wolves drop to their knees under the pressure. You manipulated him, I snarl, taking a step toward her. You used magic to control his mind, to make him reject his true mate. I did what was necessary, Serafina snaps back. The plan required Damien to choose me freely. Well, apparently freely. The humans I work with needed a Luna they could control, and you were far too powerful for their purposes. The words hit me like physical blows. Humans you work with? As if summoned by the conversation, the southern convoy finally reaches the clearing. Armed figures in tactical gear emerge from the vehicles, and I can see immediately that their weapons are specifically designed for supernatural targets. Silver ammunition, blessed blades, and something that makes my enhanced senses recoil in disgust. Witch hunters, Xander growls, his wolves spreading out in defensive formation. I should have known. Not just witch hunters, Serafina corrects, her mask finally dropping completely. The Society for Human Preservation. They've been working for decades to identify and eliminate supernatural threats to human dominance. Powerful werewolves like your precious Moonrise pack were at the top of their target list. Marcus has gone pale as comprehension dawns. You told me the attack was about preventing a supernatural alliance. You said nothing about humans. You were a useful tool, Marcus, Serafina says dismissively. Your ambition and your fear made you easy to manipulate. The society needed someone inside the werewolf community to eliminate the Moonrise bloodline, and you were so obligingly eager to maintain the status quo. You used me, Marcus whispers, and for the first time since I've known of his existence, he looks genuinely horrified. You made me murder innocent people for human supremacists. And now, Serafina continues, her eyes fixed on me, I get to finish what we started 20 years ago. The last of the Moonrise line dies tonight, along with her prophesied brat. That's when my control finally snaps. The power that's been building inside me for weeks explodes outward like a nuclear bomb made of starlight. The very ground beneath my feet cracks and craters as cosmic energy pours through me, and when I speak, my voice carries harmonics that make the trees themselves bend away in terror. You want to finish this? I ask, and every word rings with the authority of the moon goddess herself. Then let's finish it. I raise my hand towards Serafina, and she immediately begins to glow, but not with her own power. The stolen Luna abilities she's been using, the magical enhancements she's accumulated through her manipulations, all of it responds to my call like iron filings to a magnet. What are you doing? She gasps, her perfect composure finally cracking as silver light begins streaming from her body toward mine. Taking back what was never yours, I say simply. The process is excruciating for her and deeply satisfying for me. Every trace of Luna power she's stolen, every magical enhancement she's accumulated through deception, every drop of supernatural ability that doesn't rightfully belong to her, all of it flows into me like a river returning to its source. Serafina screams as the power is stripped away, her perfect supernatural beauty fading to reveal the ordinary human beneath. Her lustrous hair dulls to mousy brown, her flawless skin shows every flaw she's been hiding, and her confident bearing crumbles into the desperate scrambling of someone who's lost everything that made her special. Impossible, she whispers, staring at her now ordinary hands. You can't just take someone's power. I can when it was stolen in the first place, I reply, feeling the reclaimed energy settling into my already considerable reserves. Luna powers belong to true werewolf bloodlines, not human infiltrators using artificial enhancements. The clearing has gone dead silent except for Serafina's ragged breathing and the distant sounds of the human tactical teams preparing their weapons. Every supernatural being present is staring at me with expressions ranging from awe to terror. I've just done something that should be impossible, stripped another being of their magical abilities through sheer force of will. The implications are staggering, and I can see the recognition dawning on faces throughout the crowd. She's not just Luna Prima, Elder Thorn's voice carries from somewhere in the gathering, filled with wonder and fear. She's something else entirely. Something beyond our understanding. Damien, who's been watching the entire confrontation in stunned silence as the love potions finally clear from his system, takes a shaky step toward me. Arya, he says, and his voice is his own again for the first time in months. I'm so sorry. I never wanted, the things I said, the way I treated you, that wasn't me. I would never have. I know, I say softly, and I find that I do. The mate bond, which I thought had been severed forever, is still there, damaged but not broken. I can feel his genuine anguish, his horror at what he was manipulated into doing. We'll talk later. Right now, we have bigger problems. As if to emphasize my point, the human tactical teams finish their preparations and begin advancing on the clearing. Their leader, a severe-looking woman with cold blue eyes, raises a megaphone. By authority of the Society for Human Preservation, she announces, all supernatural entities in this area are to surrender immediately for processing. Resistance will be met with lethal force. The supernatural response is immediate and violent. Wolves begin shifting, powerful alphas roar challenges that shake the very mountains, and Xander's elite forces spread out in battle formation. But I can see immediately that we're outnumbered and outgunned. The humans have come prepared for a war. Wait, I call out, my voice carrying supernatural authority that stops everyone in their tracks. There's been enough death tonight. Enough manipulation and lies and innocent blood spilled for the schemes of others. I turn to face the human leader directly, letting my power blaze at full intensity until the entire clearing is bathed in silver light. You want to eliminate supernatural threats? I ask pleasantly. Then let me introduce myself properly. I am Luna Prima Aria of the Moonrise Pack, daughter of the Moon Goddess, mother of the prophesied Moonless Alpha, and the most powerful werewolf who has ever lived. The tactical teams hesitate, clearly not prepared for this level of supernatural display. Their leader's face has gone pale, but she's trying to maintain control. Surrender now, she demands, though her voice wavers. Our weapons can kill even you. Can they? I tilt my head thoughtfully. Shall we find out? But before the confrontation can escalate further, Marcus Blackthorn does something that surprises everyone, including himself. He steps between me and the humans, his alpha authority flaring as he addresses his former allies. No, he says firmly. I was wrong. About everything. I let my fear and ambition make me a tool for monsters worse than any werewolf. He looks back at me, his eyes filled with genuine remorse. I cannot undo what I've done, but I can prevent more innocent deaths. Marcus, the human leader snaps, you're under contract. You cannot. The contract is void, he interrupts. You deceived me about your true purposes. I agreed to prevent a supernatural uprising, not to enable genocide. How touching, Seraphina snarls from where she's collapsed on the ground, her voice now entirely human and powerless. But it's too late for redemption, Marcus. The Society has been planning this for years. They won't just walk away because you've grown a conscience. She's right, and I can see it in the tactical team's positioning. They're not here to negotiate, they're here to exterminate. The weapons they carry, the coordinated way they're moving, the backup signals I can sense them sending, this is a killing mission. Which means there's only one way this ends. I look around the clearing one final time, taking in the three packs, the human death squad, the woman who manipulated and betrayed everyone she's ever met, and the man whose mind is finally his own again. You know what? I say conversationally, my power beginning to build towards something catastrophic. I think I'm done being reasonable. The last thing I see before the real battle begins is baby Marcus beginning to glow in Xander's arms, his silver light pulsing in perfect synchronization with mine as father and son prepare to reshape the world together. The Society for Human Preservation is about to learn why gods and goddesses are worshipped instead of hunted. Time to remind them. Chapter 5. The silver light blazing from my skin is nothing compared to the fire burning in my chest as Damien takes another step toward me, his eyes finally clear for the first time in months. Arya, please, he says, and his voice breaks with genuine anguish. I know I don't deserve forgiveness. I know what I did, what they made me do, is unforgivable. But if there's any part of you that remembers what we had. What we had? The words come out as a laugh that sounds like breaking glass. You mean the relationship where you were secretly dosing yourself with love potions to tolerate being near me? Where every tender moment was chemically induced. Where you publicly humiliated me and threw our son into the North Sea to die. That wasn't me. Damien protests, desperation bleeding through his voice. You saw what Serafina did. The potions, the manipulation. I saw what happened after you started taking them, I interrupt, my power flaring brighter as my rage builds. But tell me, Damien, when exactly did the potions start? Because I remember months of you pulling away from me, months of you looking at me like I was some disappointing burden you couldn't quite shake. His face goes pale. Arya, that's not. When did they start, Damien? I repeat, my voice carrying supernatural compulsion that forces truth from his lips. When did Serafina first approach you with her special treats and her understanding ear and her convenient explanations for why a wolfless woman could never be a proper Luna? 6 months, he whispers, the words torn from him against his will. 6 months before the rejection. The clearing goes dead silent except for Serafina's bitter laughter from where she's collapsed on the ground. There it is, she says mockingly. The truth your precious Damien doesn't want to admit. I didn't seduce him away from you, darling. I just gave him the courage to do what he already wanted to do. No, Damien says frantically, but I can see the truth in his eyes now. I was confused, uncertain about pack politics, about what would be best for everyone. You were ashamed of me, I say with devastating clarity. Before the potions, before the manipulation, you were already pulling away because deep down, you thought I wasn't good enough for you. Serafina just made it easier to act on those feelings. The words hit him like physical blows, and I watch as understanding dawns on his face. He wasn't an innocent victim of magical manipulation, he was a coward who let his prejudices be weaponized against the woman carrying his child. I want to make this right, he says desperately. I want to be a father to our son, to earn back your trust. Our son? My voice drops to a whisper that somehow carries to every corner of the clearing. Our son. I can feel every supernatural being present holding their breath as cosmic power builds around me like a gathering storm. Even the human tactical teams have stopped advancing, apparently recognizing that something momentous is about to happen. Tell me, Damien, I say conversationally, what do you know about lunar conception cycles? His confusion is obvious. What does that have to do with? Everything, I interrupt. You see, most werewolves don't understand the intricacies of supernatural reproduction. They assume it works like human biology, but for those of us with divine bloodlines, conception is tied to celestial events. I can see Xander's eyes widening with understanding from across the clearing, but I continue my explanation for the benefit of those still in the dark. Marcus was conceived during a lunar eclipse, when the moon goddess's power was at its most concentrated. That's why he glows with silver light, why he can command cosmic forces even as an infant. I smile, and even I can feel that it's not entirely sane. But lunar eclipses don't coincide with normal ovulation cycles, Damien. They follow celestial mathematics. What are you saying? He asks, though I can see he's beginning to understand. I'm saying that the night Marcus was conceived, the night of the lunar eclipse 8 months ago, you were unconscious in the Pack hospital after that rogue attack. You were in a coma for 3 days, remember? The blood drains from Damien's face as the implications hit him. But that would mean, Xander says quietly, stepping forward with my son glowing in his arms, that I am his father. The clearing erupts into chaos. Shouts of disbelief echo from every corner as Pack members struggle to process this revelation. Marcus Blackthorn looks like he's been hit by lightning, and even the human tactical team seems stunned by this supernatural soap opera unfolding before them. But Damien's reaction is the most dramatic of all. No, he says, his voice rising to a desperate shout. No, that's impossible. He's my son. Mine. I have rights. You have nothing, I say with finality that makes the very ground beneath us tremble. No rights. No claims. No connection to him whatsoever except the Pack politics that brought us together in the first place. But I love him. Damien cries, and for the first time, I think he might actually mean it. He's been the center of my world for months. While you were drugged, I point out cruelly. Love potions affect more than just romantic feelings, Damien. They create artificial emotional bonds, false attachments, chemical dependencies. Every feeling you think you have for my son is as manufactured as your feelings for Serafina. The truth of it hits him like a physical blow, and I watch as he crumbles under the weight of realizing that nothing, absolutely nothing, about his emotional life for the past year has been real. Please, he whispers, falling to his knees. Please don't take him away from me. He's all I have left. He was never yours to lose, I say coldly. And after what you did, throwing him into the North Sea, calling him a bastard, claiming he probably wasn't even yours, you forfeited any consideration you might have deserved. I turn away from him, dismissing him as thoroughly as he once dismissed me, and address the gathered crowd. Let this be a lesson to all of you, I announce, my voice carrying supernatural authority. Actions have consequences. Betrayal has a price. And sometimes, the sins of the fathers are visited upon. My daughter. The voice cuts through my speech like a blade through silk, and every supernatural being present freezes in recognition. It's a voice of power, of ancient authority, of divine heritage that makes even my own cosmic abilities seem pale by comparison. But it's also a voice I thought I'd never hear again. Mother? She materializes out of shadow and starlight, stepping through what appears to be a tear in reality itself. Luna Evangeline of the Moonrise Pack, my supposedly dead mother, stands before us in all her terrible glory. She's exactly as beautiful as she appeared in my visions, but there's something wrong with her. The silver light that should flow around her like a gentle breeze instead crackles like lightning, and her eyes, once warm and loving, now burn with cold fire that makes me take an involuntary step backward. Hello, my darling daughter, she says, and her smile is sharp enough to cut glass. You've grown into such a magnificent instrument of vengeance. You're supposed to be dead, I whisper, my mind struggling to process this impossibility. I saw Marcus kill you. I felt your death through the scrying pool. Oh, I did die, she confirms casually, as if discussing the weather. Marcus's claws found my heart, just as the vision showed you. But death, my dear child, is not always permanent for those of us with divine blood. She gestures, and the air around her shimmers with power that makes my own abilities feel like a candle compared to a forest fire. I've spent 20 years in the spirit realm, gathering power, making alliances, preparing for this moment. Her eyes fix on Marcus, who's gone white as a sheet. 20 years planning the most exquisite revenge against those who destroyed our family. Revenge, I repeat, and something cold settles in my stomach. What kind of revenge? Complete annihilation, she says with satisfaction. Not just Marcus and his direct accomplices, but their entire bloodlines. Their children, their grandchildren, anyone who carries the genetic legacy of those who betrayed us. You want me to kill children? I ask, horrified. Innocent children? Innocent? Her laugh is like breaking bells. There is no innocence in the bloodlines of murderers, Arya. Their very existence is an insult to your father's memory, to our family's honor. I look around the clearing, seeing the faces of pack members who had nothing to do with my parents' murder. Young wolves barely out of their teens, children who weren't even born when the Moonrise Pack fell, families whose only crime was belonging to the wrong pack at the wrong time. No, I say firmly. I won't massacre innocents for the sins of their ancestors. Won't you? Evangeline's eyes narrow dangerously. Even after what they've done to you? Even after they cast you out to die? Even after they tried to murder your son? Marcus and his conspirators will pay for their crimes, I say steadily. But I won't become a monster to achieve justice. Justice? She spits the word like a curse. There is no justice for what they took from us, Arya. Only vengeance. Only blood payment in full. The power radiating from her intensifies, and I realize with growing horror that she's not just suggesting mass murder, she's actively trying to compel me to commit it. Dark magic, twisted and corrupted by 20 years of festering hatred, reaches out to influence my mind. Mother, stop, I say, my own power rising to counter hers. This isn't who you were. This isn't what father would have wanted. Your father is dead, she shrieks, and her mask of controlled beauty slips to reveal something monstrous underneath. Dead and unavenged. And you stand there making excuses for his killers. I'm not making excuses, I snap back. I'm trying to be better than them. Better? Her power lashes out like a whip, and I barely manage to shield myself from the attack. They murdered us. They destroyed everything we built. And you want to be better? The confrontation between us is drawing power from the very fabric of reality, causing the air itself to warp and twist. But before our supernatural family drama can escalate further, chaos erupts from an unexpected direction. Serafina, who everyone has been ignoring since I stripped her of her stolen powers, suddenly bolts upright and presses something against her ear. Now, she shouts. Do it now while they're distracted. The human tactical teams, who have been waiting for exactly this kind of opportunity, spring into action with military precision. But their target isn't me or the other supernatural adults, it's Xander, who's still holding my glowing son in his arms. No. I scream, but I'm too far away and too caught up in countering my mother's dark magic to intervene quickly enough. A dart hits Xander in the neck, not silver, I realize with growing horror, but something designed to neutralize supernatural healing abilities. He staggers, his grip loosening on Marcus, and that's when the extraction team moves in. Tactical Team Alpha, we have the package, one of them reports into his radio as they form a protective circle around the operative who's reaching for my son. Initiating extraction protocol. Touch my child and die, I snarl, abandoning my battle with Evangeline to focus on the real threat. But the humans are better prepared than I anticipated. The moment I turn toward them, energy weapons specifically designed to disrupt supernatural abilities open fire. The beams don't hurt me, nothing these humans have could actually harm someone of my power level, but they do interfere with my ability to precisely control my cosmic abilities. And precision is exactly what I need when my infant son is in the middle of the battlefield. Arya, Evangeline calls out, her voice now seductively persuasive instead of demanding. Join with me. Combine our power. We can destroy them all and take back what's ours. I can feel the temptation in her words, the promise of unlimited power and perfect vengeance. All I have to do is embrace the darkness she's offering, let hatred consume my moral constraints, and become the monster that would solve all my problems with overwhelming violence. It would be so easy. But then I look at my son, still glowing with innocent silver light even as armed humans close in around him, and I remember what I'm really fighting for. Not vengeance. Not power. Not even justice. Love. I don't think so, Mother, I say quietly, making my choice. I won't let hatred corrupt me the way it's corrupted you. Her face twists with rage and disappointment. Then you're weaker than I thought. And if you won't be the instrument of my vengeance willingly. Dark power explodes from her like a nuclear bomb made of shadow and despair, washing over the clearing in a wave of corruption that makes every supernatural being present cry out in agony. This isn't just an attack, it's an attempt to forcibly corrupt my cosmic nature, to twist my divine heritage into something as monstrous as she's become. But she's made one crucial miscalculation. I'm not just my mother's daughter. I'm also my father's child, and High Alpha Selim was known for his absolute incorruptibility. The darkness crashes against my inner light like waves against a cliff, and I feel it shatter into harmless fragments. My turn, I say with deadly calm. The power I unleash isn't silver light or cosmic energy, it's pure, cleansing force that burns away corruption wherever it touches. Evangeline's scream of rage and pain echoes across the clearing as her carefully accumulated dark magic is stripped away layer by layer. But the distraction has cost me precious seconds. The human extraction team has reached Xander, and I watch in horror as they prepare to take my son. Marcus is crying now, sensing the danger, his infant power flaring in distress signals that make my heart clench. That's when Damien does something that surprises everyone, including himself. Despite everything, the revelations about his manipulation, the truth about Marcus's parentage, the public humiliation of learning his entire emotional life was artificial, he throws himself between the humans and Xander with a roar of protective fury. No one touches that child, he bellows, his alpha power blazing as he shifts into his wolf form mid-leap. The humans open fire, silver bullets designed to kill werewolves, but Damien doesn't hesitate. He takes 3 shots to the chest and keeps fighting, his wolf form tearing into the extraction team with desperate courage. Damien. I cry out, torn between stopping my mother's corruption attempt and saving the man who betrayed me. Go, he gasps, blood streaming from his wounds as he struggles to hold off the humans. Save him. Save your son. The distinction breaks my heart even as I realize what he's doing. Damien may not be Marcus's biological father, but in this moment, he's proving that love isn't always about blood, sometimes it's about choice. And he's chosen to die protecting a child who isn't even his. I abandon my battle with Evangeline and pour everything I have into one devastating attack against the human forces. Silver fire erupts from my skin like a supernova, and every piece of technology within 100 yards simply ceases to exist. Weapons melt, communication equipment fails, and the extraction team finds themselves facing a cosmic force of nature with nothing but their bare hands. The battle is over in seconds. But as I cradle my rescued son and kneel beside Damien's broken form, I realize that some victories come at a price that makes you question whether winning was worth it. Why? I whisper to him as his life bleeds out onto the forest floor. After everything that happened between us, why did you save him? Damien's eyes, finally clear and his own after months of artificial manipulation, meet mine with surprising peace. Because, he says with his last breath, some things are worth dying for, even if you can't live with them. And somewhere behind me, my corrupted mother begins to laugh. Thank you for listening to this story. Like, share and subscribe for more.